Thank you for the kind introduction. Good morning, all. Like a bat out of hell, COVID-19 started flooding the world. And I'm here to talk about the brittle idea making a working protective device available to my people, my nurses, my doctors, the pre-hospital staff within 48 hours, taking a conventional full-face diving mask, as you buy it in any diving store around the Mediterranean, and adding a regular respirator filter to make this a device that is personal, it is safe, it is hygienic, and picking on Felix, it's actually quite sustainable as well. So I need the flipper. This is Wuhan. This is one of the places where we think the first jump from either bat to human, or bat to weird little shielded creature to human, or maybe a leak from the one hospital in the world that actually works on the COVID-19 virus is placed, right, not too far off the market in Wuhan. And this is what all started mid-October, maybe mid-November 2019. In Italy, northern Italy, there are many clothing factories. They're often staffed by migrant workers. A lot of these come out of the Hubei province, where Wuhan is the capital in China. And by February, we had the first cases in Italy. Then it spread to the Alps, where all the Danish and British and everybody else went skiing and blew in that whistle in that hotel, in that bar in Ischgl, and brought the COVID-19 virus home to Denmark. We had the first case in Denmark, 27th of February. And before that, I have friends who are the head of the ED in Milan. And what he said, Mike, you have to take this serious. I have had to choose to put either a 20-year-old, completely healthy male on the last ventilator in my ED, or choose the 30-year-old mom of two, the one I don't put in the ventilator because this is my last ventilator, taking over the breathing for these patients. The one I don't put in the ventilator will die. Mike, you must urge your leaders in the hospital to react. So we did. This is Bergamo, 19th of March, 2020. Italian military are bringing out corpses from northern Italy. It had started to dawn on the politicians in Denmark that we needed to do something, and our dear Prime Minister went on TV on the 13th of March and made that lockdown. But what we saw were prognoses that said, around Easter, I would have to put 6,000 new patients a day in my hospital. My hospital will take about 1,200 patients, and that is including C-sections, broken hips, femurs, whatever, all the regular patients. But we would have in our hospital up in Hillerød, in northern part of Zealand, I would have to admit 6,000 new COVID patients a day if something wasn't done, and something was done. In Italy, you know what we say, necessity is the mother of invention. The gentleman you see on your left here is wearing what's called a CPAP system, continuous positive airway pressure. And that is one of the treatments that has a good, not a perfect, but a good effect on treating the gas exchange problem that is part of the COVID-19. What happens, we're all born with a substance called surfactant who opens up our alveoli. And what happens when we have COVID-19 is that membrane of fluid where the gas exchange actually takes place is widened, which means that we need a higher particular gas pressure in order to make this work, in order to get oxygen on board the red blood cells. So this system, it's a CPAP system, the one on the left, it's actually made in China. The biggest producer of medical devices in all over the world is the Hubei province, where Wuhan is the capital. So not alone were everybody using CPAPs in a much larger extent than we were before, but the production had stopped. So some of my very clever Italian colleagues found this mask and said, we can 3D print a valve that will make a full-face snorkel mask work just like this CPAP system this elderly gentleman is in. So this is what it ended up looking like. A Charlotte valve or a Venturi valve was added to that. I saw this on the internet, but what I also saw on the internet and in the papers and in the confidential discussions we were having in the readiness committee around the hospitals and also in the region of Copenhagen and everywhere else in the world was we were running out of PPE, personal protective equipment. Where's PPE predominantly made in this world? Wuhan. Another problem. So I thought, well, this is a full face mask. This is a filter. This filter will filter out 99.99% of all bacteria and viruses. We use this every day in our theaters when we operate on patients and make sure that the air and the oxygen we give them is completely safe. So combining the mask and the filter, we could make a PPE. There's one problem though. The adapter, or the snorkel of the mask, is square, and the filter is round. So putting a square peg in a round hole was proving difficult. I have a good friend of mine, Mikkel. He's an anesthetist and an inventor. And I reached out to him. I called him Sunday morning. I said, Mikkel, I have this idea. You need to help me. I said, what are you talking about, Mike? You always come up with these crazy ideas. And I told him, I said, there's a guy called Frank. He's over there, the green dot on his chest now. And he said, you need to get in touch with Frank. So Frank emailed me back, and I explained a bit about my idea, and he said, no, Mike, you need to talk to that guy. And that's Lasse over there with a green dot on his chest. So I did. So what we did was, I ordered one mask from a company in Copenhagen, not too far from here. I had it delivered by taxi on a Monday. Lasse came, picked it up, and Tuesday morning, I had the prototype. Thursday morning, we were ready to go into production. So what we did, we sent a letter of intent to the Danske Regioner, the Danish regions. I showed it at the hospitals. We did confidential usability tests in ICU wards, in Rigshospitalet, and in my own hospital, and it worked. Yes, it was uncomfortable, but it was a lot better than actually not wearing anything and going into COVID-19 patients in the ICU and doing what we called aerosol-generating procedures. Then things moved on, and we started to get a bit of international interest. Lasse changed gears a bit, and he was working throughout the night, and production ramped up. This is it. This is the MIMO adapter. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the MIMO adapter. Not my name, Lasse's. But this is it. That little simple device would actually take a general store product and a ventilator filter and make it a safe PPE. Others did the same thing because 3D printing is not proprietary. People did many ways, shapes, and forms in order to make it work. But what we did, we'd spend some time on looking for the filter, because this filter has absolutely minimal amount of resistance on any filter in the market. And if a nurse or a doctor were to wear this, they can wear the same filter for 7 days. Let's talk about sustainability. The others are big, cumbersome, and they give a headache. But everybody did this. And as we were trying to get into the US market with this, because they were being rammed by COVID, now they're nearing 1 million deaths of COVID-19. We're trying to get into the US market. There's a small company in a small valley just north of San Francisco called Google. And they had done a charities thing where they actually did exactly the same thing as we did. And they have distributed, I think, about 75,000 full-face masks with an adapter similar to the MIMO adapter. If they'd brought into my design, I would have flown in a helicopter, and that would have been a lot nicer and trickier, or come out of the sea, as we talked about. But this is the MIMO adapter. This is me wearing it before starting my rounds, and it works. The first usability test I did was at home. You can vacuum in this, people. Works. I did wear something else on the mask, but you can actually vacuum in it. But where do I see 3D printing going now, from my point of view, from the medical point of view? Well, we're already there. 3D printing prostheses, 3D printing entire femurs for people who has a cancer where we have to resect the bone, but the muscles are okay. We can make that work. We can make 3D printed prosthetic parts for athletes now in the Paralympics. That picture in the middle, that is the first 3D printed human heart, micro-size, printed with human tissue grown in a lab. That's the progression. Where's the ideas as the main advantage from a medical point of view? Remember now, I'm a trauma surgeon. I deal with medical readiness and medical response to major incidents. We have an earthquake now in Haiti. I can take a surgical team, what we call a soft surgeon and a hard surgeon, an anesthetist, and a 3D printer, and I can send them to Haiti, and they can print all the stuff they need. They can print the plates, they can print the instruments right there. They just need the files. Makes it so much more flexible, so much more versatile, and it makes it put right there where the product is needed. We don't have to do air bridges anymore like we did into Berlin after the Second World War. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mikael.